or something. I don't know. Sorry, I got slobber all over me because I have been out running, walking, going up and down hills, slobbering because I'm a big galoot. Okay, I know I haven't been live or uploaded in a while, so I want to I want to go live here right now and do a after call. I just called in to the Talk Heathen podcast. I didn't mean to. I didn't want to. I had opened my phone. I just did a live on Twitter, by the way. So if you want more details, go there. I'm going to give a short version here. But, so, you guys know, a while ago, hey, what's Cat? Cat, I can't read this last part, but hello, Cat. So I called into Talk Heathen. You guys know I did a live stream months ago saying I want to argue Christianity and atheism. That's what I want to do for a while. To get back into content. Hey, what's up? Good to see you. And now I know it's been a few months, but I am a busy guy. I have to go to church twice a week. I have funerals that I do. You guys know I'm on the honor guard, and I bury all the veterans in our district. I'm also the POW MIA chairman for our district, and I also am going to be promoted up to, hey, Dad, good to see you, buddy. I'm going to be promoted up to the Surgeon General for our district, from the VFW, of course. This is the Veterans of Foreign Wars, VFW. Hey, Larissa. Well, I hope that I will. My goal is to start doing more live streams, but also, so I told you the couple things I do a week. One of the other things I do, I read the Bible with groups that I host, and one of the people that I read with is in the hospital with some pretty bad. I go to an elder home and read the Bible with them. So I've been really busy, and I know I told you last time I saw I wanted to do more. I do have a little more time right now, so hopefully it'll stay that way. Though the point of this live stream, hey Anon, hey, yeah, I only, if I'm in the house, you guys know I'm a grandpa now, so we have a lot of things that are happenings to where I don't get to do stuff on my computer as much as I used to, but that'll hopefully change. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and go into it, and then I'll check the chat after a sec, okay? So here we go. So I opened my phone, and accidentally, I guess I went to my notifications tab, and in that tab, it had Talk Heathen. It opened up. I guess my thumb, I'm walking for about 30 minutes, and I open it up. Let me check my phone. See, I've been walking for an hour. Wow. And the reason I have is because the Talk Heathen thing went way longer than I wanted it to. But anyway, I called in, and the reason I did, I don't want to get too far ahead of me. I had gone into the live chat. There was a question in the chat. Do you believe that atheism is a religion? And I wrote, well, I think it can be. And they said, oh, please call in, UNIRock, one of the mods. And I'm like, okay. So I called in, and I told them, I said, look, guys, I'm on a walk. I was actually on a walk with my dog at first. Had to take her in, because I have 2 dogs now. Had to take her in because we had walked too long. And she was like, Dad, I want to go in the house, bro. And so I'm talking to Talk Heathen and the topic that they asked me to call in about. And I explained where I think, I was told there would be cocaine and cupcakes. That's when Busy's going to do his stream later, BCP, and all that'll be there, buddy. And so while I was talking to Talk Heathen, I gave a very good argument for when atheism can be a religion. And yeah, I'm a grandpa. Isn't it crazy? Man, time goes by so fast, man. And the thing is, they agreed with me. But they had a word for the type of atheist I was describing. It was called an angry atheist. Now, I had told them when I was a teenager, I was an angry atheist. Somebody that would viciously defend atheism, wouldn't listen to anyone give arguments for why they believe in God, wouldn't listen to anyone tell them what happened to make them religious, and they would just assume everyone who's religious is dumb or, something's wrong with them that made them religious. That is what the religion of atheism is. Now, before I move on, no, not every atheist has it as a religion. In fact, I think there's a very small minority of atheists who actually are religious over their atheism. But I do think the majority of podcasters and YouTube broadcasters that are atheists are definitely, they fit that bill. The majority of them. What do you guys think? You guys likey? You likey the bird? Yeah, when you see me live next, I'm gonna have a giant beard. Because I do right now. So anyway, now this is the irony of the call. Now again, you can hear this call. I'm trying to do Talk Heathen a solid and send some of my peeps over there. I'm just kidding. I haven't streamed in so long. I can't even believe I've got more than 10 people in here. But it's on the Talk Heathen channel. I literally just got off the phone with them a few minutes ago. And when they end their call, you can rewind back and hear me call in. I think I was the first caller. You'll find me. You'll hear my voice. Very pronounced. I have a very pronounced voice. But anyway, of course, the majority of atheists who broadcast are angry atheists. Now, I did give a more complicated argument. I told them, do you know what an idol is? And they said, yeah, an idol is like a religious iconography. And I said, yes, but it's an idol when it's worshipped by the religion. They look at it as a part of their religion. Now, the cross is something you'll see me wear, but I do not idolize the cross. I don't idolize anything but God himself, right? So the point is, I can't make a wooden cross and idolize it. I can't make a little statue to Mary and idolize it because the Bible tells me not to. So anyway, if you're an atheist and you have idolized things, then you are treating those things that are your idols as a religion. And a lot of atheists can have parts of their atheism they idolize. So that's the argument. It's more complicated. It's an actual argument. It's not just me making something up or insulting atheists. And to end out this little section here, Talk Heathen agreed with me, which I thought was great. Though, of course, you know I'm going to tell them the truth. So during that conversation, I told them there is an absolute truth. Truth is not relative. Truth is absolute. They brought up, but a Muslim who reads their religion and then goes out and does a bombing against someone is acting rationally. And I said, no, they're not, because that is an irrational argument. That doesn't follow logic. I said, logic literally comes from God. God made logic. They didn't like that. And I said that, as it says in Proverbs, the beginning or the start of wisdom or logic is the fear of God. Because that's the truth, y'all. That is the truth, y'all. Now, back to me calling in. I had also told them, yeah, I can make a logical argument for Jesus Christ, because I can. And I'll make it here since they were so quick to interrupt me. Well, here's what happened over on Talk Heathen, because it's just so good. It's perfect to where I could download it and I could make a video out of it, and I could explain how in the beginning of the call, every time they tried to explain something to me, they would say something like, well, hey, you know how, well, they might have called me UNIRock, but anyway, you know how in baseball there's this rule, right? Is that rule a religion? And I said, no, the rule doesn't explain where they came from or who their God is, and that rule, but I did say baseball can be a religion for people if they treat it in a religious way. Yeah, absolutely, because it's true. What I'm saying is true, and it's a great argument. And as they kept going, though, one thing that the one co-host did, he kept bringing up these kind of logical equations where he would say something about baseball, or he would say something about Islam, or he would use an example, which is a great way to communicate with another person, right? Especially when they're not understanding you, because then hopefully they'll get the concept that you're making and apply it to what you're saying. Now listen to this. They had kept telling me they wanted me to break down a logical argument that God is real. And I said I can, but it's going to take time. And when I first called in, I told you I didn't have a lot of time. Also, I don't want to bogart your show, and I don't want to, I don't want to be the main guest here. Let everybody else call in, and if you guys want to do a show with me, I'll call in with you guys, and we'll talk for hours if you want. Let's just plan it out. It'd be fun. And they said, yeah, we'd love to do that, but I want your argument for God. I said, I really can't give it to you that quickly, but I'll try. Here is the irony and why this is so beautiful. You sound rushing the point. I am. Well, they made me, Kat. And if you listen to it, they were telling me, listen, we just want you to give it to us in just a minute. Give it to me and give me a couple points so that I can try to understand it. And I said, I will. I don't want you to judge me by it because you have to give me enough time to lay it out. And of course, I've told you we don't have that right now. So how did I decide? I thought of a beautiful way to explain to them why God existed. I said, I'll give them an example exactly the way they were doing to me. Now, what I did when they made an example, I listened to their example and I tried to apply it to the argument that was being made, and I tried my best to understand them through processing these logical equations they were giving. So I gave them a logical equation. I said, the best way I can describe it is to tell you a couple things. The first thing, it is supernatural. A supernatural event happened to me. Then I explained the aquarium theory in 2 sentences. I said, well, imagine that you have an aquarium and that you have a big bag of the base particle, hydrogen, and you dump it in. I said, I believe that the natural state of reality is nuts. I don't think the natural state of reality is this universe. And I think they can understand that too, because we all ascribe to the Big Bang, to the fact that in the beginning of the universe, stuff erupted out of one point. And I made that logical concurrent to them about how the forces that we have in our universe shouldn't be here. They're not rational. That's why we can't figure gravity out. That's why we don't have an explanation for the weak force and all this stuff in nature, because it shouldn't be there. In reality, all of the fine tuning that makes our universe capable of producing life is from God, and is a great example for why there is a God. Number one, us existing, and number two, the forces. Now, here's the deal. When I explained that to them, they turned in to the angry atheists that I was describing in the beginning of the call. And the only way you're going to hear that is to actually go listen to the Talk Heathen show that I was on. I think I was on there for about an hour, and I do encourage you guys to go listen to it. It literally is the show they did today, like just recently, and I was on there for about an hour. But what you can do is you skip through to where I'm near the end. Just listen to what we're talking about in the beginning. If you want to listen to the whole thing, go ahead. But the main part is at the end, you'll hear them start to get angry at me as I'm laying down the reasons why I believe in God. They didn't try to understand what I was saying. They didn't try to make an argument against what I was saying, which is funny. They just were like, I don't understand this at all. And, you haven't been able to give a logical argument for God. And I said I wasn't going to be able to because I didn't have the time to. We agreed to this. And they got angry, and they turned into that angry atheist. So what did I say to them? They muted me. But I'm almost positive that they only muted me from the audience, because they did it to me a couple of times where they could hear me talk, but I was like almost dead sure that the audience couldn't hear me, which is very sus, in my opinion. It's a very sus thing. It's sussifa, as I used to say, right? And I completely understand. Anyway, they were very nice and cordial. I'm not putting them down. I'm not being mean to them. They listened to me talk, and here's what I think happened. So to give you a bit of a after talk summation, I think that they were triggered by some of the things I said, and it caused them to get a little jumpy and angry, because I do think they started realizing, because I called them hypocrites very nicely. I said, guys, you're turning into the angry atheists that we talked about at the beginning of this. I said, you're judging me exactly as I said you would without listening to me. And I said, I said a few things, you know what I'm saying, that they didn't like. I said, oh, come on, guys, pretty hypocritical here. I said, you gave a bunch of examples yourselves. I give you an example now, and you're not even trying to understand what I'm saying, huh? So that's the funny part. But you have to deal with that. That's the main thing you're going to have to deal with if you're going to argue with atheists. And it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or if you're another atheist, because I was an atheist arguing with atheists for a long time, and then I was a believer in God, but I wasn't a Christian, and then I was a Christian. And I haven't argued with many of them since being a Christian, but I have done it a few times, and it all ends in this thing that I'm describing. So, pretty funny, but it's nice to see all of you. The Beatles, Paul, was my intro. Really? That's a long time ago, Kat. What's new sounds like a repeat. Oh no, never. Oh, never, no. No, it was just a conversation with Talk Heathen. I'll probably have another conversation with them, but I'm not going to call their show randomly. I'm going to email them and tell them, hey, if you guys want to set up a discussion with me, I'm down. But I'm not just going to call into their radio show or whatever it is they got going on. They are part of the Austin Atheist Network. I'm going to do another video on the Mandela effect, Kat, because I actually have an interesting new theory about it, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so now the thing is, I do want to make sure, though, since they didn't have time to hear me give them a 5-minute thing on why God exists, and I've already given you guys about 3 minutes of the 5 minutes I wanted to give them. Let me give you the last part of my argument to Talk Heathen. And maybe one of their little peons will listen to this. Maybe they won't, but if they do, they might be able to communicate it to them in Discord. They're not famous or anything, so it's not like it's hard to talk to those guys. I don't even know. I might have more subs than they do. Maybe I don't. But here's the point. The main reason why exists, though, is because of what I explained to them: logic, reason, and the supernatural. Because men and women, ever since Christ came, well, since before that, but they have heard from God and wrote down what God said. Though, just like it says in the most ancient texts, all the way up to the newest ones and ending in Revelation, the texts are going to be perverted by men who are not holy enough and are not able to copy the texts. They're not prophets. You know, prophets are the ones that heard from God. And there was a reason that those people were chosen, because they had something in them that we don't have in regards to their worship of God, their understanding of God back then, and the sin that they committed. They were able to hear from God in a different way than we are. That's why there are prophets. So those prophets wrote down those books, and God made sure that those books stayed from 5, 6, 7,000 years all the way up to now to form our Bible. And there are other texts out there that are not real. I'll give you an example. There are religions where it says that you need to kill people due to them not believing in your religion or whatever. And they brought that up on their show, right? But that is not logical. It's not rational that they did that, because their God is not real. Their God is irrational. The reason that the Bible is rational and that the laws of Christ are rational is because it is real. That's the argument for God in a nutshell. But it has to be expounded on to a greater degree than that, because it's a combined thing of you experiencing your life and experiencing love, which is the key driving force that differentiates us from animals. And it is, you know, the God is the God of love, the God of mercy. He really is, to give us as many chances as he gives us. Even murderers can be forgiven. And that's the thing. That's how you know that Christ is real, because Christ's rules do not the actions and rules of our religion are not invalidating. They are not hypocritical. Logic dictates that if you are going to be benevolent, you are going to have certain qualities. Logic dictates that if a creature that you have created understands good and evil, you have to destroy them because they're going to sin. Logic dictates that there is a reason God would separate us from him. And what does it say in the Bible? Well, we are separated from God because of our iniquity. Iniquity is wickedness. Wickedness is sin. What happened to give us our wickedness? We chose it. The Garden of Eden, you can take it as a metaphor. I personally believe it is a real story, the Garden of Eden. But we chose to eat the apple. We chose to have the understanding of good and evil. And we have that knowledge. It makes us more like God. It doesn't make us gods, but it makes us, in our mental capacity, more like him. And because of that, we have to experience this life and pass this test to get into heaven. So anyway, I think everything about the Bible and Christianity and the amount of people out there who have supernatural experiences and the fact that the biblical record is so well preserved, all of these things are things I would have sat down and explained with them and given them, logic, reason, and evidence for. But their minds are corrupted to, their hearts are darkened, as it says in the Bible. And that's why they became angry atheists at the end of the conversation. Even the Bible explains why they acted like they did, which is pretty crazy for a book that they say is not real. But anyway, and another thing is that I will add, because I do find it profound, I myself was an atheist for such a huge part of my life. I was just like those guys. If anyone is able to get them to they don't have to become Christians. They don't have to understand. They don't have to understand, to the point where they convert, I mean. Though they should be able to understand why we are Christians. They should be able to understand why an atheist, if they had an open mind and an open heart, and they read the Bible, and they actually, read it, with that seeking the absolute truth. So when you go into reading it, you start in the New Testament, of course, because that's what matters. The Old Testament we learn from. The New Testament is the truth you need to hear. But anyway, if you go into that with the open heart, you pray to God, you say, God, I want to know the truth. I want to know if you're real or not. Show me. If you're real, you should be able to show me. He has shown everyone who has gone to him with that open heart. Now, the co-host said to me, I spent 30 days praying to God and reading the Bible with a true open heart, and God didn't convert me or whatever. And I just don't believe that. The thing is, the open heart, and I've done as much as I can to try to communicate it to people, and everyone who's not an atheist completely understands me when I talk to them about the open heart thing, and that is that you understand that you are in no position to know what happened to bring you here. You are in no position. You have theories about the beginning of the universe. You have theories of every little thing that you've programmed your mind. In order to truly understand God, you need to start at a blank slate, and you need to actually give that side a chance. That's what you do. If you're just going in like, okay, God, show me, and then you start reading the Bible, you don't mean it then. You have to truly understand why an atheist who was a very, pronounced atheist could put that down and pick up the Bible and follow Christ. And you got to truly understand, why would someone do that? Well, I'll tell you why, because it's real, Knowing harm is not difficult as not to do it. Busy isn't helpful. He really isn't, is he? He really isn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hope he's not listening right now, because he's not that helpful. He actually is very harmful. Anyway, much respect to anyone who has the courage to listen to their beliefs be challenged. So I give them at Talk Heathen much respect, and I hope they are men of their word. You know, as atheists, it's a roll of the dice whether they actually will uphold to any type of profound moral backbone. So I am at their word. But being kind, I will take them at their word that they do truly want to understand why atheists become Christian. And right now it's happening at an incredible degree. It's great to talk to you guys. It's happening at an incredible degree. There are so many men out there who are becoming Christians. There are so many people that are giving it a chance and realizing I was lied to about Jesus and what happened back then. You know, it is not impossible for on a cross and then come back to life because God exists. It'd only be impossible if God doesn't exist. So if you're going to say, no, it's impossible for someone to come back to life, well, you are an atheist. You are an atheist that is assuming your religion. You are defending it as a religion. Therefore, you are that type of person that I described at the beginning of my call, right? Or if you're a person who says, hey, I'm just a being that appeared on this earth. I have no idea whether God raised Jesus or not. I have no clue. He could have, I guess. How do I know? That's the open mind. The open mind isn't saying that it's impossible. The open mind is admitting the truth that if God does exist, it is possible. So anyway, I will leave you guys with that. I don't want to bore you. I know I am. I'm playing a little bit of Doom 2016. I'm getting ready to be able to play some video games with you guys again. Maybe I'll do it on Kick. I don't know. Either way, I'll tell you what. If I talk to the Talk Heathen guys, what I'll do is I'll shoot them an email on my main email account, UNIRockalot@proton.me, which is also a way you guys can get a hold of me if you want. UNIRockalot@proton.me. And if they do respond and want me to talk to them, I'll make sure that I put it on my community tab in case you guys want to hear it. Either way, I do have to go. Busy day. Hope to see you soon. Love you. Peace out.